annals of Indian history, certain battles stand out not just for their military significance, but for the ideals they represent. The Battle of Bhima Koregaon, fought on January 1st, 1818, is one such battle, a testament to the bravery of the oppressed and a turning point in the decline of the Maratha Confederacy. But what led to this historic confrontation? To understand, we must delve deeper into the past. The Treaty of Bassein, the internal strife of the Marathas, and the rise of British dominance in Western India. In 1802, a critical event marked the beginning of the end for the Maratha Confederacy, the signing of the Treaty of Bassein. Peshwa Baji Rao II, facing defeat at the hands of the Holkars, one of the Maratha chiefs, sought British support. The treaty granted the British significant control over Maratha territories in exchange for their protection. While this move ensured Baji Rao II's position as Peshwa, it also marked the erosion of Maratha sovereignty. By agreeing to the treaty, Baji Rao II effectively invited the British to interfere in Maratha affairs. This created resentment among the other Maratha chiefs, including the Scindias, Holkars and Bonsleys, who saw it as a betrayal of their independence. The seeds of internal discord were sown, and the once powerful Maratha Confederacy fractured further. The Maratha Confederacy was a coalition of powerful chieftains, but their unity was superficial. Factional rivalries and battles for supremacy weakened the empire. The Holkars and Scindias frequently clashed, while the Bonsleys and Gaikwads pursued their own interests. In this chaos, Peshwa Baji Rao II emerged as a divisive figure. Baji Rao II, known for his ineffectiveness and reliance on the British, alienated his allies further. His oppressive caste policies, especially against the Dalits, fueled resentment among the lower castes and weakened internal cohesion. The British exploited these divisions, defeating the Marathas in successive battles during the Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1803 to 1805, and consolidating their control over Western India. Amidst this turmoil, a community that had long been marginalized under the Peshwas found an unlikely ally in the British. The Mahars, an oppressed Dalit caste, faced systemic discrimination under Peshwa rule. Denied basic rights and subjected to humiliation, they were forced to endure inhumane conditions. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, in his critique of the Peshwa regime, vividly described the plight of the untouchables. Under the rule of the Peshwas in the Maratha country, the untouchable was not allowed to use the public streets if a Hindu was coming along, lest he should pollute the Hindu by his shadow. The untouchable was required to have a black thread either on his wrist or in his neck as a sign or a mark to prevent the Hindu from getting themselves polluted by his touch through mistake. In Pune, the capital of the Peshwa, the untouchable was required to carry, strung from his waist, a broom to sweep away from behind the dust he treaded on, lest a Hindu walking on the same should be polluted. In Pune, the untouchable was required to carry an earthen pot, hung in his neck wherever he went, for holding his spit, lest his spit falling on earth should pollute a Hindu who might unknowingly happen to tread on it. These dehumanizing restrictions were a stark reflection of the rigid caste system imposed by the Peshwa rule. For the Mahars, it was a life of degradation. Yet, amidst this oppression, an opportunity for empowerment and dignity emerged in the British military. Although Baji Rao II initially relied on the British to secure his position, his resentment against their growing dominance led him to secretly prepare for war. By 1817, the Peshwa began resisting the Treaty of Bassein, rallying Maratha chieftains to his cause and amassing a formidable army. he sought to restore Maratha sovereignty and drive the British out of Western India. However, the British had established an extensive network of spies and agents who uncovered the Peshwa's plans. Forewarned of his intentions, the British prepared for conflict, leading to a series of confrontations that culminated in the historic Battle of Bhima Koregaon. On the night of December 31st, 1817, Captain Staunton's detachment was rushed from Sirur to help reinforce the Pune garrison. Marching throughout the night, covering 27 miles, they arrived at Koregaon early on the morning of January 1st, 1818. As they approached the area, they were met with a frightening sight. The formidable Maratha horse, one of the most renowned cavalry forces in India. Staunton had barely finished preparing his defenses when 3 detachments of the Peshwa's infantry, each about 600 strong, advanced simultaneously from 3 directions. These forces were supported by 2 guns and a continuous barrage of rockets. Despite the gallant efforts of the Pune irregular horse, the British forces were quickly encircled by the Maratha cavalry and infantry, cutting off all access to the river. The assaulting parties pressed forward, capturing strong, commanding positions that were nearly impossible to dislodge. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the British and their Indian sepoy allies, many of them Mahars, fought with unwavering resolve. There was severe hand-to-hand combat for every house, hut, and street, and the British were suffering heavy losses. But they would not surrender. Captain Staunton ordered his men to fight to the last man, to the last bullet. The Mahars, showing incredible courage, held their ground tenaciously, battling with all their might against hopeless odds. As the day wore on, the British found themselves in a desperate situation, surrounded on all sides by the Peshwa's forces, led by the skilled and determined General Gokhale. For 12 hours, the soldiers, including the valiant Mahars, fought without food or water. They endured relentless assaults, defending every inch of ground against the overwhelming might of the Maratha cavalry and infantry. The Mahars, who had long been denied dignity under Peshwa rule, fought with unmatched courage, determined to prove their worth on the battlefield. By evening, the British force was on the verge of collapse. Yet, their resolute defense had inflicted heavy casualties on the Peshwa's army. Recognizing the futility of further losses, General Gokhale ordered his troops to retreat. This unexpected turn of events marked a critical victory for the British and the Mahars, breaking the Maratha resistance in Western India. Today, the Battle of Bhima Koregaon is not just remembered for its military significance, but for the courage displayed by the Mahars in their fight against systemic oppression. The bravery of these men serves as a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, the spirit of resistance can prevail. The Battle of Bhima Koregaon was not just a clash of armies, it was a fight against an unjust system. It teaches us to challenge oppression and to fight for what is right. History is not only written by the victors, it is carried forward by those who dare to stand up and make a difference. In 1818, Baji Rao II surrendered to Sir John Malcolm, a representative of the British East India Company. This surrender was a pivotal moment in Indian history, signifying the end of the Peshwa rule and the Maratha Confederacy. Despite the wishes of the Governor-General of India, Francis Rawdon Hastings, Sir John Malcolm negotiated terms that were unexpectedly lenient. Malcolm agreed to keep Baji Rao as a lifelong prince and allowed him to retain his personal fortune. The pension granted to Baji Rao II was truly extraordinary. He was promised an annual payment of £80,000, which, at that time, equaled around 8 lakh Indian rupees. To put this into perspective, the average income of an Indian labourer or soldier at the time was just a few rupees per month. With such a vast sum, Baji Rao II could afford an opulent lifestyle, even in exile. In return, Baji Rao II agreed to live in a location assigned by the British away from his homeland of Pune. He also accepted the condition that he would never return to his homeland again. This marked the end of the Peshwa dynasty and a significant step in the consolidation of British control over India. Baji Rao II spent the rest of his life in relative comfort.